Lyrics of the Lost.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 13. Lucky for some, 13. It's our COVID recovery episode, as we've both had it now, and it has slowed our productions here a little bit, but now we're back to our blistering speed of one episode every month. Now,
one every month or so.
Also, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's our commitment. That's our pledge to you, the listener. Now, Dave challenged me last episode to pick an Australian artist next. And that's just unfortunately the sort of parochial, nationalistic, love my country or leave it, militant, dangerous sort of person he is. But here we are. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Peter. I would like to challenge your assumption that the Bee Gees are completely Australian, though. I believe they're actually English.
Well, we'll have to get into that. And are you wearing the Australian flag as a cape right now, Dave?
I'm wearing it as underpants.
You're wearing the Australian flag as underpants?
I do that every single day.
And now, is that just an Australian flag that you've folded into the shape of underpants to wear, or have you actually got the flag printed on an actual pair of underpants?
Strictly speaking, it's more like a nappy, I guess. But yeah, Australian flag.
Well, all right, okay. Yeah, just be careful not to poop on it, though. That would be, for a patriot like yourself, that would be just completely indecent. Sacrosanct.
Well, it would be good Australian poo.
Actually, with winter, it'd be nice to have maybe an Australian flag printed on some sort of soft, fleecy, or maybe a flannelette flag. That would be possibly the most Australian thing ever.
That's true.
I'm surprised our flag isn't already on flannelette.
Yeah, that's very true, yes.
Now, we don't like to waste our listeners' time messing about here. I mean, we do a little bit, but we don't like that we do it. So let's get straight to it. Episode 13 is this. Tragedy by the Bee Gees, 1979. Now, here we go, Dave. Although born in the UK, the Gibb brothers, Barry, Maurice, Robin and Zeppo, grew up in Queensland, Australia, and they formed the group here before returning to the UK as greater success beckoned. So yes, we claim them, or I claim them, as an Australian group, just like we used to claim Mel Gibson as an Australian actor, although he was born in the USA, and now he's embarrassing, so we've stopped claiming him.
Exactly. That's the good thing about these people. We can give them back if we don't want them. It's like being their grandparents.
Yeah, it's good to be flexible.
Yeah.
It was actually 1958 when the family of Gibbs set sail for Australia on a ship called the Fair Sea. And also emigrating from England on that same boat was a young lad called Red Simons, who would go on to form the band Skyhooks. But more importantly, there was also a young lady called Carol, who would go on to form Kylie Minogue in her womb some years later. So instead of the more usual outbreak of gastro on that particular ship, there must have been some sort of pop music virus.
I'm disappointed that an Australian icon like Red Simons is not born in Australia.
You are disappointed, yes.
I'm very disappointed. I thought he was as Australian as Daryl Summers.
Yeah, well, who knows what truth lies in Daryl Summers? I shudder to think. Yeah, this won't make it to the final cut, don't worry. That's far too parochial. But finally, this is my selection for a local artist from the Smooth Music playlist. Many people have noted that the Bee Gees developed quite a peculiar style of singing, and this song, Tragedy, is perhaps the Bee Gees at the height of their squeaky, sometimes shrill, falsetto singing and harmonizing. In fact, the pitch climbs up to such a banshee-like shriek at one point in this that there's an audible explosion. And we can only assume that's where the head of a Gibb brother just explodes from the sound waves, like in the 80s movie Scanners. Dave, I might overlay some ha-ha at appropriate points in this recording to punctuate or add emphasis. So just let me know.
Please do.
If you'd like one at any point, and I'll whip one out.
But did you know that explosion was actually one of them just putting their hands across the microphone and going...
Yes, I saw that bit of footage where Barry does it. Yeah, that interesting bit of documentary footage, which I think they also converted into the video clip for the song at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some other interesting stuff in that, which I'll come back to, yeah. Peculiar singing or not, the Bee Gees were very popular. The high-pitched singing didn't really seem to catch on with any other groups. Some of the Beach Boys stuff was pretty high, I guess. Jimmy Somerville of the Communards and Bronski Beat, he was pretty high. And I can only think of Tiny Tim doing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. I can't really can you think of any other protagonists of the style, Dave?
No, that was... Tiny Tim was pretty high, but I think, I think this song is a really great example of. In fact, I'd say that the record is a bit of a masterpiece in that regard.
Tiptoe Through the Tulips?
Well, maybe, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go on.
Let me start. Tiptoe Through the Tulips is indeed a masterpiece, but as we're talking about tragedy,
yes,
like usually with a song, one of the ways you'd build up tension is by starting quite low with the vocals, and going up and up and up. But this song seems to start at a point where you can't believe they would go any higher. Yet they still do.
It's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that famous song by Aha, where people often try to do it at karaoke, but if you don't start very low, you can't keep going higher. What's the name of it?
Take Me On. Take On Me.
Yes, that's it. Yes, it's very tricky. If you don't start very low, you'll run out of highness.
I was going to attempt it, but maybe I shouldn't.
I'll challenge you to do that right now. Yeah, go.
No, I can't do it. Sorry.
I thought you might chicken out. Yes.
Yeah.
I found an interview with the Gibbs on a 90s English comedy talk show hosted by Clive Anderson. And in it, he just keeps chiding them, the brothers, about their singing voices until they just get fed up and walk out.
In fact, I might just leave. Yeah. Oh, I've never had anyone walk out before, but... well, we are. Toss up, pal. So anyway... everybody.
I remember that. I think that might have been when we were living in the UK. It was very controversial at the time.
Yeah, it does seem a bit nasty. I think... I don't think he meant to be nasty, but he just wouldn't let it go. He would just keep making jokes at their expense. And, I've already made fun of the Bee Gees right now, but you shouldn't do it to their face.
No.
Do it behind their backs. That's what good manners is. Do it behind their backs.
It's much better to do it on a podcast and then publish it on platforms that anyone can hear.
Yeah. It's unlikely to get back to them, so it's fine.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff from the 70s seems peculiar now. It was a wonderful time, really, of bold experimentation. Yes, in music, but also with the colour brown in lots of things. Architecture, fashion, so many things.
It's true. Brown and orange.
And orange, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
I remember we shared a lovely kitchen once with brown and orange featuring heavily.
We had a divan lounge, like a folding lounge sofa bed thing in the 70s that was orange with, I'm sure it had yellow and red circles on it. It was beautiful.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
But we are here to talk about lyrics. And I was shocked to see that bit of documentary footage showing that the lyrics were basically written as an afterthought. Here's a clip from their process where they just have the word tragedy so far, and it just goes like this.
Tragedy!
Na 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 tragedy. Na 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 tragedy.
Maybe they should have left it like that.
Well, I think maybe they meant to. It could be that it was just going to be, they were just going to rip off the theme song to the 1960s Batman show. Na 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 na, Batman. Very similar. You can't deny the parallels. But the Bee Gees lawyers probably stepped in and said, better write some more lyrics just in case. Could be some trouble over that. Yeah. You can probably picture the brothers together in a room. Come on, guys. What sounds like something tragic we can use in tragedy for more lyrics? And one of them, I think, must have said, vampires. They're pretty tragic figures. And I think that's why we've got some of these lyrics.
I've got a few things to say about that we might come to later about them when we get onto souls.
Yes. Did you see vampires as well as a chief subject?
Well, I did, but to be fair, I've been watching quite a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bit retro. Yeah, okay. Well, yes, the lyrics start out with... Here I lie in a lost and lonely part of town. Now that sounds like a perfect place in town to hide your crypt and lie there during the daylight hours. That's perfect vampire material there. Second line. Held in time, in a world of tears I slowly drown. Held in time because they don't age, of course. Forever young, vampires are. Check. Drowning in a world of tears, that could be the suffering that the vampire causes all around him in the community. Or maybe he just sees more sadness because he's picking off the lost and lonely people of this part of town. And he's drowning in it because he's just sick of all the blubbing from his victims. So, yep, check again. When the feeling's gone and you can't go on, it's tragedy. Here, a lot of movies show vampires are quite jaded, tired of life. They don't have a lot of feelings, especially with how they have to murder and feed regularly. Feelings gone. Check. And here, as you mentioned, when you lose control and you've got no soul, it's tragedy. Now that could be about their bloodlust. They lose control when they see blood and they need to feed. Check. And they literally have no soul because I think that's claimed by Satan when you become a vampire. It's instantly, Satan goes, right, that soul's mine, and now you're a demonic creature of the night. I think that's how it works.
Check.
Yeah. When the morning cries and you don't know why, it's hard to bear. Very hard to bear in the morning if you're a vampire. The morning light is a bit burny, a bit ouchy. So they go back to the crypt at that point and cry themselves to sleep. And lastly, with no one to love you, you're going nowhere. Big check there. Yep, vampires are usually pining for some old lost love, and they're stuck in the vampire life forever and going nowhere. So, yeah, vampires. Do you have anything further to add on the vampire thing, or you just saw the bit about you've got no soul and thought vampires?
Well, no, I did do a bit of research into losing your soul.
All right.
So, like you said, it seems like that's a key line in the song. But there's other possibilities apart from vampires when you mean that you've got no soul. So you could also talk about somebody not having any soul if they're not singing with the right amount of emotion and feeling.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
More the 70s sort of use of the word soul, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's one possibility. Perhaps it's a bit of loss of confidence by Barry Gibb and his brothers there, that they just aren't singing with enough soul. Maybe they're feeling like if only they could sing higher, they'd be able to inject more soul into their music.
Oh, the higher you go, the more soulful, until you get into Alvin and the Chipmunks territory, and then it immediately goes to the other end of the scale.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's a fine balance.
And I did find a website that listed 25 ways to tell whether somebody has no soul. they weren't taking having no soul quite as literally as you have done with the vampire thing. So they're talking about having no soul as being losing all connection with their higher self.
The higher self.
And I don't know what that means either. Anyway, this article on a website, I'm not sure whether it's nomadoctors.com or nomadrs.com. Anyway, 25 ways to tell whether somebody has no soul, by which they mean they've lost all connection with their higher self. So it's a kind of a spiritual thing. Yeah. I'm not going to go through all 25, but here's a few. They lack empathy. Their emotions seem fake. Animals don't like them.
Ooh.
They despise. So animals obviously very sensitive to. Well, they'd probably be quite sensitive to vampires too, I should say.
That's also why dogs don't like Terminators either. Terminators haven't got any soul because they're robots.
Oh, that's true.
In those movies, the dogs are always barking at them. So yeah, you check.
Yep, but they can clearly hear high-pitched noises, so they're probably Bee Gees fans. They despise children. They don't just dislike children, they despise them.
Ooh.
Yeah. They never dance. Never.
Fair enough.
Yep.
No soul.
Their morals are erratic, if present at all.
Yeah.
They're a narcissist. And now here's the really important one.
Yeah.
A real psychic confirms it.
A real psychic confirms it. Yep. That's how you know. If a psychic confirms it. Excellent.
If a psychic confirms it, you know someone's got no soul. And there is a warning on that as well. It says, but how can you find a psychic you can trust? In this day and age, it's so important to stay away from the fake ones.
Oh, yes. It's very... Oh, it's a nightmare trying to find a good one.
Yep.
An honest-to-God psychic. So hard to find.
Exactly.
I think science has yet to find one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those are two options for not having a soul. The third one is actually not having a soul. So as I was saying, I had some COVID-related downtime. I did watch quite a lot of old episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right.
Yeah, that's a show that does revolve around demons and vampires that don't have a soul.
Yeah. I've only seen a bit of it, bits and pieces, and the original movie I've seen, but I know the general concept.
Yes. I mean, the idea is that if you're a being that doesn't have a soul, you've got no morals, no conscience, no remorse, so you could go on a wild killing spree, or plot to destroy the world, and you'd feel fine about it. And one of the main characters in it is a vampire who was cursed by gypsies with a soul. He was given a soul back.
Oh.
And the consequence of that is that he spends his whole life in constant torment over all the terrible things that he did when he had no soul.
Oh, wow. That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
That sounds more like the current vampire stories we get today with, your sort of gothy, sad Robert Pattinson type vampires.
Yeah. But crucially, the Buffy vampires don't sparkle in the daylight.
Oh, right. Yes, sparkling.
Yeah. They catch fire. I found another website called Evil Wiki that detailed 3 types of soulless beings. Mm-hmm. So you can be someone who loses their soul. You could make a deal with the devil or some other kind of evil being.
Yep.
They could have had their soul stolen, or maybe they were born without one. So a soulless being is usually quite often motivated by a desire to get their own soul back, or maybe steal someone else's soul.
Mm.
Yeah. So if you do a deal with the devil and give the devil your soul, there's usually consequences. And I think those consequences, generally speaking, involve going to hell.
Yeah. And losing your soul.
Yep. So you could lose your soul that way. You could be what they refer to as a soulless shell. And this is where it comes to your vampire. So it's usually someone who's been brought back to life, but not completely. So, your vampires, your zombies, anyone raised by the dead by some kind of magical ritual.
A lot of those properties of soulless people, I feel like they might have been copied from personality traits of a psychopath as well, but just taken it a bit further into the supernatural.
Yes. Well, that's why you need a psychic.
Yeah, to confirm it, of course.
Yeah.
They've got those government issued rubber stamps that they can stamp on the ID of a soulless person, and it just says soulless. Yep.
And the third option is that you're some kind of ancient demon that never had a soul.
Never was issued one. Yeah.
Never was issued one.
Never part of the earth. Probably around before God made the earth. Oh yeah. Often. Yeah. The inhabitants of hell or former angels and things like the devil himself.
Exactly. So firstly, I'm wondering which of these might apply to the song, and secondly, whether any of it might be autobiographical. So I don't know if you've heard of a blues musician called Robert Johnson.
Oh right, is he the one who sold his soul at the crossroads?
That's the guy. Yep, he was a singer and a guitar player in Mississippi in the 20s and 30s, and the story goes that he was terrible. Tried to get on stage and play, but audiences booed him off. And then he disappeared for a few weeks and came back as a master musician. According to the legend, he went to a crossroads on Highway 61 and sold his soul to the devil. The payback for him seemed to be that he only lived for a few more years. He lived a very troubled life, and he was dead at 27.
Gosh.
So my question here is it possible that one or more of the Bee Gees made some kind of deal with the devil? And if so, what did they get? Obviously, they got very high voices.
Yes.
They had lovely hair.
Lovely hair. Oh, that's so true, yes.
Yeah. Lovely hair and lots of excellent teeth.
Actually, the hair thing did run out for one of the brothers, who then took to wearing a hat in most of his later appearances.
Yes. Well, see, that's part of the payback. The devil will take things from you eventually.
Yeah. Quite quickly too, for a lot of famous rock and rollers. If they've all done similar deals with the devil, they do tend to die a bit young.
Exactly. But you could also look at their career progression. So they're initially very successful in the 60s, broke up in the late 60s, and then reformed again in the early 70s. But didn't do very well until the mid-70s, when suddenly they were making disco hits.
It is suspicious.
Just like Robert Johnson, nobody wanted them, and then they go away for a while, come back, and they're massive stars.
They did start very early, I think, in my notes here. Even before they came to Australia, they had started something called a skiffle band. I don't even know what that means, but it's some form of music, I guess.
Skiffle bands are kind of what the Beatles were influenced by.
Oh right, okie dokie.
Yeah, kind of rock and roll, but English with washboards.
Yeah. Their first early success in Australia was performing for audiences at a speedway track in Redcliffe in Queensland. And this is kind of where they got their name, the Bee Gees. A lot of people think that it stands for the brothers Gibb, Bee Gees, but no. The name was created by Bill Gates, not the Microsoft guy. This was Bill Gates, a Queensland radio presenter. So Bill Gates, his initials are BG again, and he was introduced to the Gibb brothers by a guy called Bill Good. Those are the initials BG again, who was the speedway driver and promoter who first hired the brothers to entertain the crowd in 1960. So radio jockey Bill Gates named the group the Bee Gees after the initials of himself and the speedway promoter and Barry Gibb's initials.
Wow.
So sod the other brothers, apparently. There's 3 citations for that story on Wikipedia, so it must be true.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I never.
So, if the Bee Gees sold their soul to the devil for lovely hair, excellent teeth, and disco hits,
yes,
what was the payback?
Well, they might have been vampires.
They might have been vampires, but still, being a vampire is not in itself a problem.
Well,
I would
Okay.
suggest the payback for the disco hits was appearing in the film Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Ah, yes.
Well, yes. So the story is that Tragedy was written when they had an afternoon off from filming the movie. So, again, due to COVID-enforced downtime, I had a look at this movie. Did start off trying to watch the entire thing, but it's 2 hours long. Life is finite and time is too valuable. So I got about 30 minutes into it and then skipped through the rest looking for good bits. I would say that if you want a reason why they thought of writing a song called Tragedy, look no further.
Right, there it is.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
It must have been quite soul-destroying being in that film during the day, and so they had to try and have something creatively resurrecting in the time off to sort of make up for it, to stay alive. Staying alive, that's what it's all about.
That's it. Well, if they are vampires, they will stay alive. They're effectively immortal.
Yeah, but it's kind of an undead alive. It's not quite live.
Yep.
And truthfully, I don't think I've ever seen the Bee Gees during the daytime, so that's...
It's true. They're always out at night, Saturday night, night fever.
Yeah,
Perhaps night fever is a feeding frenzy.
that's it. That's the name of the bloodlust. The night
It is.
fever is upon us.
Yep,
And what better place to find young virgin blood than out dancing?
that's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
we
see,
don't-
I was wondering whether they might be werewolves because of the lovely hair and the teeth.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
but werewolves have souls because they spend most of the time as humans.
Oh, well, that's tricky.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a sort of half vampire, half werewolf. Have there been any crossover entities like that? They're always so separate and sort of always enemies, the werewolves and the vampires. But maybe there's room for some sort of Romeo and Juliet type story where two of them get together from both sides of the fence and have some sort of little were-vampire or
Oh,
vamp-wolf.
yeah. That would be very cute.
I'm sure it'd be adorable, yes.
Yes.
I was going to comment at the height of his hairy powers in the 70s, Barry Gibb in particular. He had a really magnificent wavy mane of hair and a very fulsome beard. And I feel like he could have scored the role of Chewbacca in Star Wars around the same time.
Well, see, that's why I was thinking of werewolves.
Yeah, he could have played a very good werewolf as well. I guess they were probably too busy doing Saturday Night Fever, but I feel like he could have scored the role of Chewbacca, except the Wookiees' moody roaring would have all just been a bit instead, which could sound threatening in its way, and could have worked, I think. I might try and play a bit of Star Wars.
I'd love to hear that.
Chewie? Chewie, is that you?
What's going on?
So for most of the lyrics, the brothers have to come up with these short little rhymes that they can then punctuate by screaming at the end of. It doesn't say much about the Gibbs as sensitive or poetic if they couldn't find tragedy in real life and had to, think of vampires and other soulless type demon spawn. So to help out the Gibbs, I've challenged Dave and myself separately to come up with proper real-life tragedies that the Gibbs are welcome to go back and use instead. We don't expect any payment. Dave, how did you go?
Well, yes, I came up with a few. Most of them are quite domestic in nature.
Oh, okay. Well, if they're domestic, I think that's fine. You write what you know.
Yeah,
Tragedy's all the more real when it comes from real life.
exactly.
And are you going to be singing it, Dave, or are you just going to recite it in your normal voice?
I'm happy to give the singing a go.
All right, you sing yours, I'll speak mine as a counterpoint.
Right.
Then people will know the difference. I invite you to go first. What have you got?
All right. Okay. When it's wet and cold and the walls are covered in mold.
Tragedy, yes. I
Yes.
had, it's a bit of a jinx. I had when your shower's cold and it's got some mold.
Ah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Mold is a universal problem.
That's right. I also had when you don't like beer, so people think you're queer.
Do you have a problem with that?
Because I don't like beer, and sometimes people think I'm queer for not liking beer. I'm not saying I think people who don't drink beer are queer. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I'm just challenging whether you have a problem with people thinking that you're queer, that's all.
Oh! No, it's just people shouldn't make assumptions.
That's true.
I see. I'm sorry
Yes.
if I've offended anyone with my line. Yeah. Your turn, Dave.
Okay. When the cat has pooed in your brand new shoes.
Tragedy, definitely, yes.
Yeah. That hasn't happened to me, but it could.
It could indeed. I think
Yeah.
it has happened to my partner. I think she's shared a place with a cat that at least vomited in a shoe. I don't know which is worse. Okay. When the seagull cries because it wants my fries.
Also very threatening.
Yes, sure. I've got a second part to this, actually. It's hard to bear, but fries are not good for your beak or your nares. Because there's,
Sorry, what are nares?
Nares are the nostril bits on beaks.
Really? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. My next one has a similar theme to the previous one.
Oh, okay.
When you open that door and there's wee on the floor.
Again with the cats? Is it cat-related thing, or is that could be wee
No,
from...
actually, this is more sung from the point of view of Kylie when she opens the toilet door, and maybe let's just say aim wasn't as good as it could be.
Oh, during the night, in the darkness, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When the kettle's on, but it's tea for one.
Oh.
Just because that could be a bit lonely.
Oh.
Yeah.
One is the loneliest number to make tea for.
Yeah. See, that could have had people weeping in the aisles with that line. Got any more?
Oh, yeah. When you're out of bread and no one said...
You're out of bread and no one said. Oh, because
Yep.
you didn't know we needed to buy some, but because nobody
Exactly,
said.
and now it's...
Whoever used
now
the
it's
last
breakfast
bit didn't
and you're
say.
hungry. Yep.
Oh, that is terrible. Oh, man. Okay.
Yep.
Lost the remote control. You can't be consoled.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah, I did when the remote control fell down a hole.
Oh.
Yours is better.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Jinx.
Universal themes. Okay. Well, I'm going to move into some that I didn't write. I'll see if you can work out where they came from.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A traffic jam when you're already late. A no smoking sign on your cigarette break. 10,000 spoons when you need a knife. Like rain on your wedding day.
This is
A free ride when
very
you've already...
Alanis Morissette.
There you go, you've got it.
Dave, you're getting too high. That's got to be peaking out the audio.
I think it's a peak of some sort.
Yeah, actually, if Alanis Morissette only called her song Tragedy instead of Isn't It Ironic?
I think those are
much better
as
song.
tragic as they are ironic.
Yes, the lack of irony was what was so tragic about her song.
Exactly. Yep.
You're sitting on the bowl, but there's no bog roll. That's another one.
I think there's a second tragedy in there, which is you're sitting directly on the bowl. You've got no toilet seat.
Oh, that's true. Oh, yes. You probably shouldn't sit directly on the bowl. No, it'd be very cold. That's also tragic. Tragically cold.
Yep. Yes, I have one more. When millions of voices cried in terror and are suddenly silenced.
I'm having trouble making out the words. You're so high. Can you pitch that one down for me?
When millions of voices cry out in terror and are suddenly silenced. It's a tragedy.
Again, we're a bit jinxed. I've got a Star Wars one as well. When Star Wars is a flop because Jar Jar Binks won't stop. There you go.
There you go.
Let me see what else have I got. I've got a bit for there's the other rhymey bit, the hard to bear bit. It's hard to polar bear. Ice melting beneath you, seals escape, that's not fair.
Wow.
Thank you very much. And I've also got, this also again includes bears, but this is another two-parter. When the eagle flies with its see-good eyes, it can see a bear, but that's too big a fight, so it's just not going there.
Wow.
Yes.
These are quite sophisticated.
Sophisticated? Yeah. Well, less sophisticated is when there's free donuts on, but only cinnamon.
See, now that sounds like something that Alanis Morissette could have used.
Yes, I had to really sort of strangle the pronunciation of cinnamon to make
Cinnamon.
it yeah. The car ahead turns right, but indicators not alight.
Ooh.
Yes.
Well, that could lead to a tragedy.
It could lead to a tragedy, and it's tragically annoying for pedantic people like me who don't like to see people not obeying the rules. Have you got anything further, Dave? These are all winners.
No, I'm spent.
Everyone's a winner, baby.
I'm fresh out.
Okay. Well, I mean, there you go. We've got some real tragedies there because we're truly sensitive, poetic wordsmiths.
Yeah.
But when you grow up with brothers, I know that's something you don't know about, Dave, but trust me, they can be really macho competitive and really tease each other if they were to show any feelings. You just don't want to show any weakness in front of your brothers or feelings. Even as girly as the Gibb brothers might appear, there's a thread of lyrics in this song that sounds like typical brothers in denial of any feelings or blame or weakness. So I'm going to go again back to that beginning. Here I lie in a lost and lonely part of town. Now note he's saying, I'm not lost and lonely. It's the part of town that's lost and lonely.
That's true.
That's one. In a world of tears, I slowly drown. Now, they're not my tears. It's a world of tears. I'm just drowning in them, okay? And then, when the morning cries and you don't know why. It's not me that's crying, no. No, the morning is crying. If you think I'm crying, it's just because I've got something in my eye. So, yeah, there's sort of typical brotherhood relationships that I sort of picked up on there.
Says a lot about you, I think.
Says a lot about my brothers.
Well, yes. More about you than the Bee Gees, I would think.
Well, I gather that they were, they seemed quite nice and 70s style, 60s and 70s. It was the decade of love, and, it was probably nicer to have brothers then. But I think it's typical. I don't think it's just me. I think brothers are pretty nasty towards each other. Can be.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah. I've got some notable achievements of this song. It was covered by Steps, a Brit pop group of the late 90s that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Have you heard of them?
Yeah, again, lived in the UK at the time. Yeah. I don't really think the cover was an achievement.
Well, apparently it did get right up to number 2 in the UK charts. So
right up to number 2.
Yeah. But it's sung by the girls of that group, which I don't think is fair, frankly. They didn't have to do the Gibbs falsettos. They just used their regular, naturally higher girl voices, which is kind of cheating, really, isn't it?
And to be honest, I haven't listened to it I don't think I've ever deliberately listened to it. Let me just rephrase. But I don't believe that they went up as high as Barry did, even at the beginning of the song.
No, they didn't do the those bits either, or the explosion. Pointless. Yeah. Another achievement, little known. This song was the inspiration for Kevin Costner's disastrous sci-fi action movie Waterworld. If I can just take you back to the lyrics again. Held in time, in a world of tears, I slowly drown. World of tears, that's the tragedy of the oceans rising to cover the world. The tears are being cried by the melting ice shelves. Check. Held in time, meaning there's no progress, everyone's just subsisting, just staying alive, again, as it were. Check.
Yep.
With no one to love you, you're going nowhere. Kevin gets imprisoned at one point and is only freed by the love of actress Jean Triplehorn, who helps him escape. So check. When the morning cries, that's probably the cries of the seagulls at dawn in Waterworld. Check. It's hard to bear, as I've mentioned. The shelves are disintegrated and polar bears can't hunt, so it's very hard to bear. Going home, I just can't make it all alone. Because to get back home to the only remaining land, he has to team up with Jean Triplehorn again and her daughter, and I think there was some old guy in a hot air balloon in the end. So check. And the connection is strongest still when you consider the lyrics from the extended version of the song, which includes, when you've got vag-like gills and you're eating krills. So there was that, and also when it's Mad Max on water and Dennis Hopper's your stalker. So definitely inspired that movie.
Undeniable.
And further achievements. In 2001, Cambridge University was accused of dumbing down their standards in an exam, which asked students to discuss the Bee Gees lyric, "When you lose control and you've got no soul, it's tragedy." And reporting on this, the Guardian newspaper asked prominent writers of the time to give their answers to the exam question. David John Taylor, novelist and critic, wrote, "The Gibb lyric sheds an interesting light on the contortions of the tragic muse, for its final effect is to reject, implicitly if not explicitly, the externalizing forces with which many critics have attempted to invest it. Here, the trauma is plainly internal. More than this, at the heart of the tragic descent lies a very real sense of personal responsibility. The Gibb protagonist's loss of soul is the result of a forfeiture of control, presumably preventable, at any rate bound up in notions of volition and personal destiny." That's very good. And Giles Foden, novelist and critic, wrote, "Joseph Conrad wrote about tragedy not being that man had no soul, but that he knew he'd lost it. If you never had a soul, no problem. Only material things would count, cakes and ale, people poking you in the eye with sharp sticks. The last might be painful, grotesque even, but not tragic. For tragedy, there has to be some kind of falling, reversal, peripeteia, as the Greeks called it. Having had a soul, recognition of its extinction would be unbearable. That's the tragedy. When others think you have no soul, but you think you do, then you're a laughingstock. That's tragic comedy." Thank you, Giles. Finally, John Mullen, senior lecturer in English at University College London, he wrote, "When you lose control and you've got no soul, it's tragedy. But why not just bad luck or self-indulgence? The Bee Gees stake the modern claim that ordinary pain is tragic. They gainsay Aristotle, who thought only the sufferings of a special person could drag us to catharsis, and was endorsed by tragedians from Aeschylus to Racine, and we all know what they were like. When the morning cries and you don't know why, it's tragedy. Their pathetic fallacy makes a more radical suggestion that tragedy is waking up afterwards alone. The tragedy of love used to be fatal. Euripides' Phaedra, yearning for her stepson Hippolytus, Romeo falling For the Juliet, the enemy's daughter, tragic lovers died, but now they can just go dancing. When you lose control and you've got no soul, it's tragedy. Sung again and again, for tragedy is a story like, in brackets, Anthony and Cleopatra, or Tristan and Isolde. A tragedy, a story we already know. The tragic protagonist, such as Oedipus or Macbeth, sees how the story goes and tries to escape the knowledge. The disco rhythm says no escape, just Dionysiac repetition. Yes, so there you go.
Well, it sounds like a pile of wank, and I'm sure it is.
A pile of old wank, even.
A pile of old wank, but I do agree with some of it. So if you take the lyrics at face value, discounting the vampire interpretation,
yeah,
it really isn't very tragic to me. It's not tragic. It's somebody feeling a bit sad because a relationship's gone wrong.
Yes, it's a bit more. It's just like as the French would call ennui, really.
Ennui.
Yeah.
And they talk about the feeling's gone. Well, I think the feeling has gone. And if you look at, there's a line I don't even know if we've mentioned so far. Just before the first chorus, where he says, "I really should be holding you, loving you." Not I really want to hold you, or I'm desperate to hold you, but I really should be holding you. It's as if it's a duty.
I suppose I should.
Yeah, like I really should be getting the early bus because I have an 8 a.m. meeting, or I really should be collating my expense receipt so I can do my tax return.
Yes.
It's apathy. It's not tragedy.
No, you're right. Gosh, I've forgotten that bit. Anything further on it, Dave?
Well, just to point out that this is really the end of their sort of successful disco 70s era. I think they only really had one more hit after this until, I guess, the late 80s, maybe.
Okay. Well, they all go back together.
Well, I don't think they ever... Did they split up? I can't remember. They just didn't have any hit records. And
they did split up for a while, yeah.
Yeah. This may be going back to their deal with the devil, or it may be going back to their involvement in Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah. Maybe they had maybe their deal with the devil was paid in installments. They gave bits of their soul at different times, and the devil wasn't getting the full soul quickly enough, so he cut them off for a while and said, right, no more hits until you give me some more soul. They strung the devil along until he just cut off the supply of success for a bit.
Well, maybe, but I don't think they were all aware of the consequences of their deal with the devil. I found something that Robin Gibb said about. I'm sorry to harp on about this movie, but I kind of became fascinated with it when I started to watch it because it was so weird and awful.
And you are speaking ill of the dead now because there's only Barry left.
I know. That's true. But this is what he said about their versions of the Beatles songs in Sgt. Pepper. He said, kids today don't know the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper, and when those that do see our film and hear us doing it, that'll be the version that they relate to and remember. Unfortunately, the Beatles will be secondary. You see, there is no such thing as the Beatles. They don't exist as a band and never perform Sgt. Pepper live. In any case, when ours comes out, it will be, in effect, as if theirs never existed.
Wow. Those are words that come back to haunt you.
Stick that in your song, Alanis Morissette. That's irony.
Well, that's an even bigger statement than John Lennon himself saying we're bigger than Jesus. For the Bee Gees to say we're bigger than the Beatles, I think that's wow.
Yep.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
Isn't it?
And that's been the tragic story of tragedy. Well, any sponsors you'd like to thank this week, Dave?
I have two, in fact.
Oh.
The first one is the little UV torches that come with COVID tests.
UV torches?
Yes, if you get a certain type of COVID test, you have to shine a little UV torch at it to see the result.
Oh, I've never had that one.
Well, if you do that in a darkened bathroom, any ideas you had about whether your bathroom was clean, that can go out the window.
Oh, right. It's like one of those dark lights that they
Yep.
shine around crime scenes.
Yep, it's like a soulless vampire has gone on a killing spree in your bathroom. It's incredible.
Yike. You can
Yeah.
see all sorts of bodily fluids all over
Yep.
your bathroom.
Exactly.
You really have to improve your aim.
Particularly as the toilet's in a separate room.
Oh, right. Your bathroom doesn't have a toilet in it. Okay.
No. The second one is the song Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
Oh, yes. That's getting a new life, isn't
Yes.
it?
It's everywhere, so it's not too much of a spoiler to say it plays a role in Stranger Things. But having heard it on Stranger Things, I went back and looked at the lyrics, and I realised that for the last, 36 or 37 years, I'd misheard the lyrics. Yeah, I always thought she was making a deal with God and getting into small round places.
Ah, yeah. Running.
Which,
deal with
I mean, it
God.
doesn't make much sense, but I thought it seemed like something that Kate Bush would do.
Get into small round places.
Yeah, she's quite physical. She's a dancer. Maybe she just wants to cram into small round places. It's not up to me to question why.
Does it turn out to be something faces or what?
No, it turns out to be get him to swap our places. It's just about swapping,
Oh,
getting the point of view of the other gender.
right.
And I found that very disappointing. So I was actually wondering whether you've had any songs that you've misunderstood, and then when you hear the real lyrics, it was a disappointment.
Oh. Well, the only things coming to mind are the classics, like if the Go-Go's had done a song about Alex the Seal, I think that would have been cute and lovely. But
It would have been, yeah.
instead, it's about their lips being sealed, which is, I guess that's fine if you like that sort of
Yes.
gossipy secrets and stuff. I suppose fine.
Yeah.
And I was working with a guy who used to hear the song I Could Never Wear That Sweater. And he always heard it as I Remember Venezuela, which was quite a leap, I thought.
Yes.
Well, to continue the nationalistic fervour of this episode, I'd like to thank Australia's own Violet Crumble Bar. It's a snack I've been getting back into as a sort of COVID treat. For those who don't know, it's honeycomb wrapped in chocolate, kind of like Cadbury's Crunchy Bar, but this is far superior. Beneath the name, it has the slogan, "It's the way it shatters that matters." And I don't know how long they've been using that, but in my day, they were trying to make the Violet Crumble Bar into a really tough, manly, rugged sort of snack, when the slogan then was urging men to crack a crumble. And in the TV commercial, you had a muscly guy in a sleeveless shirt about to have one, and he didn't peel the wrapper off delicately. No, he fisted it open. With the bar in one hand, he slams the end down.
Sorry, did you just say he fisted it open?
Fisted it open. With the bar in one hand, he slams the end of it down on his opposing fist, and then the chocolate bar just shot through the end of the wrapper like it was his manly, erect penis bursting through his manly, unwashed foreskin. That's how manly it was.
Wow.
And then he wouldn't just bite into it, no. First, he broke the bar in two, making the honeycomb shatter explosively in little splinters that went everywhere, blinding several onlookers. That's how I remember it. But they've toned all that down now. It's exported around the world, and I thought it had been bought up by Nestle, but now I see it's back in the hands of another Australian company called Robin Men's in South Australia. So thanks for keeping it going, guys.
There you go. A manly Australian icon. Like Barry Gibbs' chest hair.
Lyrics of of the lost.